One of my students recently asked, is there a way in Adobe Dimension to select a portion of an object and change the color, make it transparent or something? Unfortunately, a dimension allows you to move, resize and scale things, but you can't edit things. So unless the object itself was separated or grouped, you can't do anything. But Illustrator allows you to create shapes and make them 3D to a certain extent. And what you can do is, in Illustrator, I thought, why don't I create a shape with multiple fills, make it 3D, and export it and see what I get? Because you can export your 3D shape from Illustrator to a 3D format, an OBJ, and then import it into Adobe Dimension. So let's see what we get. So I created this green stroke, no fill. I'll go to Effect, 3D Materials, Revolve. And there I have a shape, whatever it may be. And I'll undo that. And actually, all I need is, let's select these two, scale them out a little bit, something like that, to create what I want. And really, because we're doing a revolve, I don't actually need these. But I have a problem if I delete them. You can see if I do a revolve now, it looks a bit weird. So what I do need is I just need half, something like that. Let's go down. Let's go across. Something like that. And if I revolve that, there's a shape. File. And I'll export. Where is it? Export selection. That's what I want. There you go. Make sure it's set to OBJ. Export asset. Don't care about that. There it is. Close it down. Notice, by the way, it's the OBJ. I've done another example before, but it's the OBJ we want. The MTL is the material, the color, etc. So let's jump to Dimension. File, Import, Import 3D Model. Asset 2, open it. Wait a few seconds, and let's move up, and there's our shape. But it's one whole shape. I can change, if I want, the material properties. You can see on the right here, I'm playing around with color, hue, and so on, normal height, etc., etc. I can add a new material, but I can't select part of it. Also, let's have a look. So it looks all right. There's no bevel or anything, but I haven't been playing around with that. But there's nothing for me to select apart from the whole object. Let's move that out of the way. So I thought in Illustrator, what we can do, let's undo this. There we go. And by the by, I don't actually need this line here, but I'll leave this in for the moment because I want to show you something. But what you can do is, let me put a few lines across. Because Illustrator has the Live Paint tool. If I select everything, and if I bring up my Live Paint, where are we? Not there. I always forget. There we go. There we go. We bring it open. There we go. The Live Paint. So I've selected, in fact, let's check. I've selected, there you go, selected all the objects. Click on Live Paint. This will make it a group. And with the arrow keys, I can now go through, look at the little swatches above the cursor. I can choose a color and click. And it's now made them into separate shapes. Notice, by the way, as I use the arrow keys, how they're changing over here, you see. And I click with that. Boom, done. Click on the black arrow tool. This is now a Live Paint object. So what I need to do is expand it. Click up here. Then I go to Ungroup, Object, Ungroup. Click off. Select all these lines. I don't need those. Delete them. And so now we have separate objects. I'll select them all. I will group them and I will revolve them. So now we have an object made in different sections. I will now export this as a selection. There we go. Make sure it's an OBJ. Save it where you will. Or actually, let's give it a different... do I care about the name? No, not really. So that's fine. Replace it. Don't care about that. And let's go back to Dimension. File. Import 3D model. And number 2 again. Open. There we go. Drag this up. I want it on the ground, so drag the center point or this sort of origin point. There we go. And now if we look here in Dimension in the top right hand corner, it's a group. And we can see all the items here. And I can click on each one in turn. And therefore, let me scroll down, I can give them different materials. Now, in this case, I put a glass material in. And by the way, if you want it to look a bit better, let's use ray tracing up here. We get a better result. And there you go. It's a little bit fuzzy because it's going through different steps to make it look good, but you'll get a better result. Double click, because this is a group. There you go. You see, I've selected that one. And I can either change the color here. There you go. Or I can just choose a material on the left-hand side, whatever I want to do. And we wait for it to load. And so on and so forth. One thing to be a little cautious of here, let me take the ray tracing off because it's slowing down a bit. Let's click on this and let's ungroup, object and ungroup. And if I click on something now, let's have a look. Click on one thing, click off, click on, there we go. Let's move it off. Let's see what's going on inside. No, that looks all fine. There we go. So these are now separate objects that we can play around with in whatever way we want.